All right, let's dive right into this explainer. If you've ever kept a small fish tank, you already know the drill. The water gets cloudy way too fast. The temperature completely swings if someone just leaves a window open, and honestly, keeping your fish healthy can feel like a stressful, full-time job. But what if I told you that going bigger actually makes everything easier? Today, we're unpacking exactly why the 55-gallon aquarium is the undisputed sweet spot for hobbyists, no matter your experience level. We're going to look at some hard data from the TankZen setup guide to show you how stepping up to this specific size literally transforms your entire experience. We're talking about moving from frantic crisis management to just sitting back and enjoying a thriving, highly stable aquatic ecosystem.
625 pounds. Take a second to let that number sink in. That is the massive estimated weight of a fully filled 55-gallon tank sitting right there in your living room. It instantly tells us we're not dealing with a basic glass box you can just casually slide onto a bookshelf or a flimsy end table. We're talking about 55 gallons of water at roughly 8 pounds a gallon, plus the heavy glass itself, and easily 50 to 80 pounds of wet sand or gravel. You are installing a serious, dynamic piece of furniture here, a 4-foot slice of nature permanently anchored in your home. And as intimidating as that number might sound at first, this sheer volume is exactly what gives this tank its hidden superpower.
So, let's get into Section 1, the 55-gallon sweet spot.
The absolute biggest advantage of a 55-gallon footprint is, without a doubt, stability. Think of it like adding a single drop of dark food coloring to a tiny teacup versus dropping it into a massive swimming pool. In a small 10 or 20-gallon tank, if you slightly overfeed your fish or miss just one water change, you can trigger a highly toxic ammonia spike practically overnight. That teacup gets polluted instantly. But in a 55-gallon tank, that extra water volume acts as a massive, forgiving buffer. Temperature shifts happen much slower. Chemistry changes drag out over days rather than hours, giving you crucial reaction time to fix mistakes before they become fatal. This buffer fundamentally saves fish lives. It actually means a properly cycled 55-gallon tank usually only needs a straightforward weekly 20 to 25% water change to stay crystal clear and perfectly balanced.
Moving right along to Section 2, Size and Weight Realities. A standard 55-gallon tank is exactly 4 feet long, 13 inches wide, and 20 inches tall. And because of that 625-pound footprint we just talked about, preparation here is completely non-negotiable. You absolutely must place this tank on a purpose-built stand, ideally positioned along a load-bearing wall in your home to safely distribute all that extreme weight. Now, a quick warning on stands. Cheap MDF wood stands might look fantastic out of the box, but they absorb water from everyday splashes. Over time, that particle board warps, it bubbles, and it gradually weakens under the immense pressure. To really protect your floors and your aquatic investment, an upgraded, reinforced steel or solid hardwood stand is what you absolutely want for long-term reliability.
All right, Section 3, essential gear and costs.
Did you know undersized equipment is actually the leading cause of preventable fish deaths in setups that otherwise look perfectly healthy? That's exactly why you've got to follow the 120% rule for your filtration. You might assume a filter labeled for 55 gallons is perfect for a 55-gallon tank, right? Well, actually it's not. Manufacturers frequently base those ratings on completely empty tanks, not fully stocked ecosystems filled with active, waste-producing fish. A 55-gallon tank really requires a filter rated for at least 65 to 75 gallons to handle that biological load effectively. Whether you go with a high-end canister filter tucked out of sight or a simple hang-on back style, overfiltering is your best insurance policy. Toss in a highly reliable 200-watt submersible heater to maintain that tropical 75 to 80-degree sweet spot, and your core life support system is officially ready to rock.
So, what does this hardware actually cost in the real world? Well, looking at the TankZen data, we get a really concrete financial breakdown, and it shows just how flexible this hobby is. If you're hunting for deals, buying secondhand, or maybe grabbing a complete starter kit during a holiday sale, you can honestly get a highly functional setup running for a budget-friendly $305. But if you're meticulously piecing together premium low-iron glass, custom solid hardwood stands, and a whisper-quiet top-tier canister filter, your initial investment can easily scale up to $1,130 or more. The absolute beauty of this tank size is that it perfectly scales to your specific budget. You can always upgrade components slowly over time.
But let's talk about the monthly living expenses, because the startup cost is just step 1. Once your tank is fully running, a beautifully stocked, healthy community ecosystem will only run you between $25 and $55 a month to maintain.
That covers the extra electricity for your 24/7 filter, the heater, and those bright LED lights. It also completely covers premium fish food, the essential water conditioners to instantly dechlorinate your tap water, and your testing reagents. When you break it all down, it's often significantly cheaper than a daily coffee habit, which makes it an incredibly affordable ongoing cost for having a stunning, living piece of art right in your home.
Which brings us to Section 4, Mastering the Nitrogen Cycle.
This right here is the single most important concept in all of freshwater fish keeping. Understand this, and you'll succeed. Skip it, and your tank will absolutely fail. Setting up the tank is entirely physical at first. You've got to meticulously level the stand. This prevents the glass panels from twisting and shattering under uneven pressure. Next, you thoroughly rinse the substrate without using a single drop of soap because even a trace amount of detergent is highly toxic to fish. You install your dry equipment, fill the tank with conditioned, dechlorinated water, and turn everything on to check for leaks. These 4 rapid-fire physical steps set the stage for Step 5, the biological waiting game.
Step 5 is honestly where the invisible magic happens. The nitrogen cycle takes a full 4 to 6 weeks to complete in a brand new tank. Think of beneficial bacteria as your tank's microscopic waste management team. You introduce an ammonia source into the empty tank, and over a few weeks, good bacteria naturally colonizes inside your filter media. They literally eat the highly toxic ammonia produced by fish waste, convert it to a chemical called nitrite, and finally process it into much less harmful nitrate. That nitrate is what you then easily remove during your weekly water changes. You absolutely must test your water daily during this critical phase. The golden rule of the hobby? You cannot add a single fish until both ammonia and nitrite read exactly 0 parts per million on your test kit.
Finally, Section 5, Best Fish and Common Mistakes.
I bet you've heard this one at a pet store. Oh, you can totally keep an Oscar in a 30-gallon tank. It's just one fish. Guys, this is a massive, widely believed myth that causes an incredible amount of chronic stress, severely stunted growth, and completely preventable fatalities in the aquarium hobby.
The harsh reality check is that the old 1 inch of fish per gallon rule is deeply, fundamentally flawed. Total length isn't everything. You have to account for the animal's body mass, its aggressive behavior, and its sheer waste production. An Oscar isn't just a long fish. It grows into a massive, heavy, 12-inch aquatic bulldog that produces an enormous biological waste load. What's more, they can easily live for 10 to 12 years when properly cared for. Because of this, they absolutely require this 55-gallon sweet spot as a bare minimum just to live comfortably, let alone thrive. Putting an Oscar in a tiny 30-gallon cube is essentially putting it in a prison.
But hey, instead of dedicating the entire tank to one massive fish, the true beauty of 55 gallons is building a vibrant, multi-level community. To naturally reduce competition and stress, you want to utilize the full water column by picking specific species for specific zones. You could stock 8 to 10 Corydoras catfish that'll happily bounce around and clean the bottom zone. Then, add a massive, flashing school of 20 to 30 neon tetras swimming right in the middle, providing constant color and movement. Finally, feature a few elegant angelfish, cruising beautifully through the tall plants up top. By matching temperaments and distinct swimming zones perfectly, you create a peaceful, mesmerizing display where everyone has their own space.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to mentally flag these 5 common mistakes to protect your new setup. 1. Do not dump 20 fish into a newly cycled tank. You have to add a maximum of 3 to 4 small fish per week so your bacteria colony has time to catch up. 2. Don't skimp on that filter. Always remember the 120% rule. 3. Do not skip your weekly 25% water changes. Even in a crystal clear, stable tank, invisible nitrates are slowly building up. 4. Keep the tank far away from direct window sunlight and HVAC vents to prevent massive algae blooms and wild temperature swings. And 5. Remember that a large 55-gallon tank will not magically stop an aggressive cichlid from hunting smaller, peaceful tank mates. Aggression is behavioral, not spatial.
So why wait to create your perfect aquatic ecosystem when you have all these concrete facts right at your fingertips? You now know that going bigger doesn't mean it's harder. It actually means you're building a much more stable, forgiving, and thriving ecosystem. If you're ready to take the plunge, head over to the TankZen blog today. You'll find the complete step-by-step setup guide, their top current gear picks, and deep dives into all the fascinating fish species you can keep. The only question left is, are you going to keep struggling with a tiny, unstable desktop bowl, or are you ready to bring a literal slice of the Amazon River right into your living room?